Hello, it's Melinda from Alexis and Melinda's Art Space, back with another instalment of my journaling by fives inspired by Shannon Green here on YouTube. This project has been a long time in the making. It's probably been, 3 months since I've done the last lot of pages. I've just been swamped and busy. So basically, if you haven't watched the other parts of it, basically journaling by fives is there's 5 steps to create a journal page, and you've got a time limit to do it. So this particular set I did 20 pages in 15 minutes. So the first step is paint, then it's stencil. First step is paint, pattern paper, stencil, focal image, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a focal image with words as well. And then the last one is doodling or drawing, and that's what I'm up to with these pages here. So I've got 5 pages. So this last step, I couldn't do it timed because I like spending time doing all the line work and things, and I didn't want to rush it. So I like to outline things so they look like they belong on the page. And I apologise, I'm trying not to get my head under the camera. For any new subscribers, and thank you to all the new subscribers we've had come on board on the last couple of weeks. We've had quite an influx, which is fantastic. I do share this channel with my 13-year-old daughter, so often she'll pop into some of the crafty videos and we'll do stuff together. Haven't been very active lately on this YouTube channel, so I've just been swamped with work, and my daughter's been swamped with school. You know what teenagers are like at school. Lots of schoolwork happening, or trying to happen. So as you can see, those 2 pieces I've just outlined to make that pop out a lot better. So I'm going to outline this building. So I've just used a lot of magazine cutouts and just funky little things. This journaling by fives is more an exercise to make your brain think less about perfection and more fun about doing. Well, if I could follow the rules and do this in 15 minutes, but this sort of stuff, this Zentangling, well, not really the outlining, but Zentangling and Doodle sort of calms my brain and relaxes me, so it's nice to do. I'm going to outline the bird, and I often turn my pages around as well because it's sometimes easier for me to see. And for any of my new subbies, I do have low vision, and I'm not even allowed to drive a car. That's how sucky my vision is. So sometimes I will go out of shot, or I'll move my book to a better position for myself. Sometimes I'll do little mistakes like that, if that's okay. Not after perfection. It just makes it easier for me. And I find if I'm drawing, if I'm drawing like this way, instead of trying to draw and move my arm around, it seems to be a bit better. So I'm just drawing with a, what is this? A Posca paint pen in a fine size, 1 MR size. So quite a thin one. You just got to watch the Posca paint pens, because they're paint pens, they're quite, like they're wet paint when they come out. I'm going to swap to my white one. So you just got to make sure you don't put your hand in the paint. Sometimes these just need a good shake. Oh, excuse a bit of a sniffle. Hay fever season, grrr. So what I find is I'm just limiting my pen work to black and white just to lessen the choices, and I do have coloured paint pens I could bring in, but I find just limiting the black and white just sort of combines all your pages together. Now you just do want to watch with going over with paint pens. This is not a problem with my pages because they have been dry like, a few years. Let's not get into that. I think I started this a couple of minutes ago. And then I lost it in my stash when I moved craft rooms. And then I lost my pens, and then I just lost time. I lose everything lately. The head like a sieve. So if you are doing this all in a go, you want to make sure all your paint and all your glue is definitely dry. And I use matte medium or like Mod Podge to stick all my pieces down, so it's a glossy layer. And trust me, if you don't wait until it dries, you will wreck your pens. Now these white pens having a bit of a hissy fit. Hopefully the volume, or not the volume, the voice quality is improving on my videos. I went and purchased myself a funny little microphone that clips onto my shirt and hopefully gives a bit better quality than the webcam I was using. See how this little bit of just outlining the black stenciling has just brought the shape to life? So what I tend to, my rule is with adding detail is if there's a dark bit, so these bits were done in black and they're quite dark. So if you have a piece of stenciling or work on your page that's dark, go in with a white pen and then the opposite. And this white pen is misbehaving a bit, so I'm just getting a very light line. But that's okay, I don't want it bright white. I'm saying that now it becomes bright white. So any dark pieces, you go in with a white pen, and then any light pieces you go in with a any light pieces you go in with a dark pen. So I'm just wondering what else I want to add. I do like to add borders to most of my pages, so I'm just going to grab another Posca pen. I've been drawing a lot with these pens, so I'm hoping they are still good. So sometimes I do fancy borders, sometimes I just want to do a squiggly border. I find if you squiggle a couple of times, I went off the page there, that'll be fun to see what I did in the next page. Squiggling a couple of times makes it look better than sort of scribbling once. Then again, in saying that, I don't scribble a couple of times all the time. And I find by doing it just in sections, I don't have, and turning my book, I don't have to make my wrist do weird angles. Now, deciding, sorry, trying to stay in frame, deciding when to stop is fun. I might come in and do some detail on the cloud just because I can. And this is another one I like to do with as well. It's a Uniball micro pen, so it has a really fine tip on it. But it does like to go over dry paint and it goes over dry matte medium very well. So I'm just going to pick out a couple of clouds and I'm hoping my head is not in shot. It's hard to tell if my head's in shot because I've got to pick my head up to see, but no, I'm not. Oh, no, there I am. Okay, so if I don't go beyond my hand, I'm not. I find sometimes to do work like this, I have to be quite close to my page, just because I wear glasses for distance, but my glasses are only for distance, and when this is quite not distant, my glasses don't work. So often it's hard to film videos because especially when I'm doodling and stuff like this, because I like to be quite close to where I'm working so that I don't make mistakes. And if I make a mistake, I'm not all that bothered. If I trace something or go out of the lines, really, in the whole scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. You ask my 13-year-old that, apparently the word will end if we do a scribble outside where we thought we were doing it. I don't know, apparently the word will end when you're a teenager at little things. Now I can always come back to this one. I like doing things in threes, so I've done 3 of the clouds. I don't need to, I could go and do every cloud. I don't feel the need. Why do I always yawn when I'm making videos? Okay, let's go to the next page. I didn't even know what the next page was. I just grabbed 5 out of the book. Oh, I like this one. See, this one's funky. She's got a cup for a dress and a body. She doesn't even have a body. So art journaling doesn't have to be realistic. The funnier the better. So I'm just going to do some outlining on these ones. Some of this outlining you're not going to see. So obviously over the black, you're not going to see it. And I've got glitter. Obviously glitter paint in the background of this one, which is making my pen have fun hiccups. So obviously around this bottle you're not going to see the black pen work where the black stenciling is, but I'm going to do some white on that black stenciling in a minute just to make it pop out. I want to make her pop out. I think I was actually using up a glossy Mod Podge when I was using these, so my surface is a bit glossy. So I apologise if there's a bit of glare. I find these Posca paint pens, it's best to have them upright. Most people grab them and try to write with them as on an angle, and I tend to find that the ink doesn't run as well if you try to keep them upright. But it is a learning thing with your fingers to try to keep them upright. Because ideally, every time you pick up a pen, you want to have it on slant. And this one having glitter in the background is not ideal with my pens, but we will deal with it. So just adding a bit of definition, basically just tracing right next to, and if I don't do it right next to it, I have a bit of gap, I just go back in and colour it in, and you can't really see it. So if I do go quiet, it just means I'm concentrating. I often do process videos, and if you're a long time subby, you do know that I do process videos and I speed up and then do a voiceover. That's so much better than trying to talk while I'm working. And it means you don't have to sit here in real time and watch me. Come on, pen. If you find your pen's not working properly, just sometimes even if your gel medium or stuff is like really, really dry and this has been left like for ages, sometimes even just going over the glossiness, the pen just doesn't like it, won't flow properly. So just go onto a scrap piece of paper and it will make your pen flow a bit better. Just going to outline this bit of paper because I can. It's a very poor outline, isn't it? So this is a great way to use up scraps too, because you can use up scraps of bits of paper. This is a bit of pattern paper at the back, some more pattern paper, more pattern paper. Sometimes I use tissue paper, sometimes I use napkins. Now I think I want to swap, and these black bits definitely need some white on them. Now sometimes I draw on the outline, sometimes I draw in. So these diamonds I actually want to draw on the inside of the outline by a bit of a border just to lighten them up, and then I'm going to go back in and do some pattern work in them. So I'm not going to do every one, I'm just going to do random selection. Then I'm just going to do some lines in these. Hoping you can see. It's a bit hard to zoom you in and then stay within the frame where I'm zoomed in. So as you can tell, my lines aren't perfect. I'm not going for perfection. It's more just lightening up this really, really dark area. I don't know, what is it with my pens today? They both just want to play up. Sometimes I have good days with my Posca paint pens. Sometimes they just play up and just be nasty and don't want to run and don't want to go. Maybe they're the days that I've used them a lot the day before and they don't like them anymore. See how that's just, that little bit of doodling there has lightened up the air and it's not so dark. So we're going to do some here. Oh, that's a bit wobbly. Sometimes it's hard to see where the stenciling is, so just make it up. You could bring the stencil back in. I find I have more difficulty when I go and put the stencil over the top, and I just like to freehand it. But feel free if you've got stenciling on your page or you want to use a stencil to draw through. The other thing I don't like drawing about through a stencil is sometimes I will smudge my paint pens because I'll move my stencil and my paint pens won't be exactly dry. It's only a very small amount of paint, so they don't take that long to dry. Again, trying to keep this pen upright. Must be a bit of napkin under here because it's not a smooth surface. Or is it glitter? Ah, glitter. I'm going to turn this upside down. I find sometimes these paint pens don't like if it's a bumpy surface, whether it's a napkin or glitter or a big blob of Mod Podge or matte medium that hasn't sort of been flattened out. Paint pens just don't like it. I also find if I draw too fast through my paint pen, it doesn't like me. Especially white pens, I have trouble with getting a really bright white. This one is really good. You can draw as fast as you want with this micro eyeball. It's a quite micro eye. It's a quite thin line, so I do a lot of my initial drawing with that. And then I'll often go over it with a thicker Posca pen, just because I can draw really quickly and get my ideas down. And in some places this is wider than others, but that's okay. I'm having a bit of trouble with the shine. I tried to get the lighting to be good. It's hard to get good lighting. And turn it upside down and see if I need to do any more. As you can see, I've got sort of some in 3 in a row, 2 in a row. It just depends. I can do some with just the white outline. I'll do that and see what that looks like, and not the lines in the middle. The good thing about doing Posca paint pens over, if you've got gel medium over the top, because it's like a slick surface, if you don't like what you've just drawn, you can quickly wipe it off. Should I do like it as just blank one? Just open ones. There we go, just makes it stand out a bit more. So you do have the opportunity to wipe even over acrylic paint, the paint pens will wipe off with the Wet Baby wipe reasonably well. I can hear those birds outside. I think they're loud today. It's quite early in the morning here. I've got up early to have some playtime before my day starts. The birds are going nuts, waking up. That's right, I was woken up by the bunnies going nuts this morning. Oh, they're loud early in the morning. They decided the cardboard box had to have another hole in the back of it, just so they can escape out the back if I come running for them. Okay. So on this one I'm not doing a lot on top of the coloured pictures because I'm going to leave those to sort of stand out for themselves. But as you can see, that one stood out a lot more. Now what do I want to do for a border around this one? So sometimes when I do borders, I just grab my Montmark alcohol marker. Quite a reasonable brand. It's not a Copic like that or anything expensive. And I'll just use the chisel tip just to do an edge. And again, if it's not all even, it doesn't matter. What I find is I can sort of put my hand on there and run down and get it fairly even. Oh, it's a bit of paper I didn't take off that's hanging over the top. Just make sure you do this on a scrap bit of paper because you are going over the edge and drawing on whatever surface you have under your paper. Especially when I've got a hand missing here, it's nice to put a bit more of a solid border on than a scribbly border. So it looks like it keeps going, but we've just cut it off with the border. I border 99% of my pages. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I leave some white space and that can be a border too. Just depends on what I'm feeling for the day. See how that just frames that up? So now I could go and do some white. If I find that's too black, I can go and do some white over it when it's dry. It'll be dry in a couple of minutes. We'll come back to that and we'll see what's next. What is next? Oh, funky eye. Wow, old dog do tricks. I like this one. Let's start with our black. And as you can see, I collect really funky images. The funkier the better I find in my art journal. I like weird stuff. I have quite a collection of weird stuff at the moment. So I find a lot of these in magazines, in sometimes tourist things or things promoting festivals will have really cool stuff as well. So you don't always have to pay for... Whoops. Lost where I was going. As you can see, I've just rubbed it off with my finger. So you don't always have to go and buy magazines. You can find, it's amazing how much you can find for free if you just keep your eye out. My daughter and I always do that. We collect brochures and things wherever we go, and usually flick through them and see what fun, cool stuff. Especially a lot of the festivals and galleries and performances usually have, in the bigger capital cities, usually have a lot more funkier images. Like your normal magazines like That's Life, New Idea, that sort of doesn't have funky images. So that sort of magazine I like to stick with, like the fashion magazines. Now, I also do like sciencey magazines. National Geographic has some really cool stuff in it too. I couldn't tell you where I got these images from. I just collect them and pull them out of my magazines. I grab a whole bunch of magazines and then go through them fairly quickly, and if something doesn't catch my eye when I'm flicking through it really quickly, it doesn't go into my pile. Especially now because I've got a lot. Obviously, if you're first starting out, and you don't have a lot of magazines or don't have a lot of images, you'll be a bit more selective. But once you've got a bit of a stash, I find if it doesn't jump out to me when I quickly flick through the magazine, then I'm probably not going to use it. I do keep a few magazines around in case I want sort of text. That's from a dictionary, but in case I want to use text or something like that. But most of my magazines I do sort of process and get rid of probably 90% of it every so often. And then you've only got a small box, well, okay, a large box, to go through to find an image. And I've got a few of mine sorted into clear plastic envelopes. Like nature I put all in one, people I put in one. But I've been a bit slack, I haven't been doing that lately. Now, do I want to do any... I do want to outline these again. Again, I'm just going to go on the inside. These diamonds are really good for going on the inside, because if I went on the outside, I'd actually lose that little bit of colour between them. What else do I want to do on this page? See, this one sort of has a border on its own. It's a bit of white and so I don't know necessarily whether I'm actually going to border this one, because it's sort of bordered itself. Let's make this pop out. Words pop out. I love using dictionary text as well, whether I use the whole page like this or whether I cut out certain words. Let's see what words we've got over there. We can highlight one of them. No, it's all about race. Okay, race. Rabbit. It's got the word rabbit on it. That's funny. Well, I suppose it is racing. So what you can do is, if you don't have patterns to follow, see I could outline this pattern. Well, we haven't done any white on here, have we? Let's do some white patterns. It's got a fair bit of white actually. Let's not do that. Okay. So say for example I've got this big spot up here. I can actually come up here and I can do some lines, and that will sort of push it into the background. So you don't always necessarily have to have patterns to trace over. You can just make it up as you go along. And these are a bit wonky, but in the whole scheme of things, who really cares? This will sort of fill in this white space. Again, it was a big white space that I was looking at that I didn't like. And you'll find as you do these, there'll be one glaring spot, like a really dark spot or a really light spot just glaring out at you, and it's the first thing your eye catches. And if you tone down that, I'm going to come right down here to the words, because I sort of want to knock this piece into the background. And the lines got a bit more wavered. See how that's knocked that white bit out, so it's not the first thing your eye sees when you come to look at the page. Now that I've got that smallness over here, I sort of need it over here. So what I might do is actually go around here and just give it a bit more detail, because I find it's a bit wobbly. So I'm sort of going around the circles but adding a few more circles in, and I'm only probably going to do one circle. This was a bit of a jelly print, I think. So you can use up lots of scrappy bits. What's going on? That sort of balances that over, if that makes sense. Feels a bit more balanced now anyway. I think I am done with that one, because this is sort of our focal image. We've pushed this into the background now. We've got some background done. We can always come back to it. Let's do another one. Ooh, go on, girl. Girl on the go, definitely. Now this one, your stenciling is quite unnoticeable, which is good. It's pushed into the background. What I did was I just used black and white to stencil, just so I could cut down the amount of decisions I had to make and go what colour will go with what. Black and white goes with everything. So I sort of had the rule of, if it's a dark colour like this dark green, I went in with white. And if it's a lighter colour, I sort of went in with black. So again, sort of making that contrast. A couple of these pages have got, she's got some marks on her face, just because I obviously closed the book when the paint was still wet, or I've got paint off some of my pieces of paper I was using between the book. I was using Glad Bake, what we bake cookies on, to protect the pages, because sometimes you do close them wet when you're doing this on a timed thing. So I'm just going to trace around this just on the inside. That doesn't bother me. She's got a bit of a distressed face. For me, art journal is not about perfection. It's about having a go and just having fun and playing around. Oh, my finger's itchy. Okay. Now, I think I will do her dress. I think I will sort of, her dress has sort of got lines on it, so I'm just going to sort of accent the lines. And again, I could go in and colour these lines in, but this particular exercise, I'm just sticking with black and white. Her dress sort of has a bit of pattern on it, so I'm just sort of repeating or using the existing pattern that's sort of on the dress and filling in any bits that are not so prominent. Okay, so now it gets interesting down here. We've got a waistband, so we'll do our lines around here to give it a bit more definition. And make her elbow pop out. Whoops, elbow pop out. So it's fun to go over their clothing. You can give them different shirt colours. You can give them all different sorts of colours, which is lots of fun. I'm just giving her a stripy dress. See how she's just popped out a bit more? So there's no rules of where to draw or where not to draw on these. It's just a matter of where do I want some extra line work, where do I want some extra detail, what do I want to do. This one sort of has, these were done on children's colouring books, if you haven't seen the original. So I gessoed over I think it was a colouring in book that my daughter didn't want any more. So it was still good paper. So it sort of has this border. So this time I'm going to follow. You can sort of see this black border here. I'm just going to do a really scribbly border. So I'll let the paint go on top because I want this border to be in the background. So I'm not going over the paint. And that sort of framed the background, and then she's in the front. Then all this paint and stuff is in the middle ground, and that border's in the background. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have stuff in the 3 areas: background, middle ground, foreground. So she's definitely in the foreground, or she's definitely in the front, and then all this other work is in the back. And I'm just wondering whether I want to do. Probably don't want to do any black on here. I think I like that the way it is. It's finished, I think, and knowing when to stop, is the hard bit. I think I like her. Last one. Oh, I can't believe we're up to the 5th one. Wow, time does fly. Okay, so this is another one from a racing magazine or a fashion magazine. So I usually do my outlines first of the pieces, and then I come back in and do any of the pattern work later, because then I can see where it needs it. Sometimes it just needs an outline. Sometimes it needs more. And I'm just tilting my book because it's a little hard for me to see where a hat is. This is also the line that makes it pop out as well. It makes it define from anything in the back that is too close in tone. I'm just going to put a few lines on the internal part of her hat just to make them pop out from the other layers, because sometimes a photo will make it look a bit 2D. So that's giving it a bit more dimension on her hat. I don't really want to. I'll just try not to draw through her eye. Again, I'm going to go in the inside. Hang on, I just have to pause for a second. That is my phone buzzing next to me silently. I'll be back in just a moment. Well, that was a rather long phone call I wasn't expecting today. Some days I get onto film and all my phone does is ring. Other days, I'll decide not to film anything, film a fair bit for work as well, and my phone is silent. So I'm just going around on the inside of some of these bubbles, just quite loosely. Not doing everyone, I did one everyone on that side. Well, let's do everyone on this side. I was going to say not doing everyone, but I got carried away. Sometimes they're a bit harder to see over here, so you just sort of make it up to think where we think they are. The whole scheme of things, if you're a little bit out, or you trace over somewhere where you shouldn't, it's not the end of the world. Now I want to do this title, see how it's not standing out from the background? You definitely want to trace around places where you've sort of got white on white or the same colours, because otherwise they don't tend to pop out. Oh, sorry, my head's getting a bit interviewed. This is my beautiful hair. I haven't put my hair up today. Okay, so this white bit up here I want to add some pattern to. Whoops. Just to push it more into the background than it is at the moment. So again, I'm just going to do lines. I could get a ruler if I wanted them straight, but I find, whoops, well, not that crooked. I find the, I can get them quite sort of semi-straight until I start talking about getting them straight and then they go crooked. So the more you do line work like this, you sort of train your hand, and after a while your hand will sort of take over. And you don't have to think about it as much, if that makes sense. It's like muscle memory when you're drawing things. When I'm doing lines like this, I tend to always like to do them going in the one direction. And this pen is being a bit of a pain. And the thing you just got to watch, I think I mentioned it before, is you don't drag your hand through wet paint. So I've obviously done that top bit. It doesn't take that long to dry, but I have smudged it before. I'm liking that now. Even her dress needs some lines on it. What are we going to do? We're going to dress some lines as well, just because I can. And just because it's fun. I love sitting with magazine images and going over them and just giving them really funky outfits. It's quite fun and relaxing. You're sort of drawing and changing something, but you don't have to draw the entire human figure if you're not good at faces or good at figures, which is really good. And it's nice to put your own touch on it as well. I do that to even images I buy as well. I've used only magazine ones in here, but I've bought previous ones. There's a lot of companies that do collage sheets now. And it's nice to change the colour, add more lines, just to make them your work. And put a bit of your personality on them, and then they're unique to your book. I'm going to go quite thin with it, quite close with these lines. And again, my pen is deciding to... Maybe I'm drawing too quickly. It's not coming out as black, but in this instance, I don't mind it. Now it's not working at all. Come on, pen. I think sometimes when you're drawing a fair bit, and now I have to go over that because now I've got black lines down the bottom. I think that ball gets stuck and it sort of runs out of paint. Because you shake the ball and it tends to allow that ink to come down. Now, what else do I need to do with this one? Just put a bit of an outline here. This piece of paper is sticking out the front, so we're just going to give it a bit of an outline. You're not going to see most of it because it's on that darker colour. We'll just make it come out to the front as well. So we've got sort of the background, this is middle ground, foreground, and that's in the foreground as well. Just going to draw around here. So it's just personal choice of where you sort of look at it and go, oh, where does it need a bit more? Where doesn't it need any more? And you can sit here for hours and do it, or you can do it quite quickly. As I said, calms my mind. I don't mind sitting here and playing. She's sort of floating, but it's okay. You should act like things floating. Now I'm going to do a border around here. What sort of border are we going to do? Let's just do a painty pen border. Quite a wiggly one on this one, just to be different. So I've got 5 pages to go, so hopefully I get time to do those in the next week or so and put them up for you, and then this will be done. I have had fun doing it. I might even do it again, but let's not leave it so long between making it and doing it. Must get back into doing a lot more work for me. I'm doing a lot of art for work at the moment. It's just different when I have to use a specific product than when I can just play and make a mess and use whatever I want. Actually, I'm thinking I want stripes down here. Or will I regret that when I do it? Yeah. Probably regret this in a minute. Just want these defined a bit more. Oh, there's the mailman. I think he stopped at my box. He usually whistles at me when he hears something good. No whistle, maybe it's just junk mail. Actually, I do like those. Come out. Sometimes I use this text to do, like, I'll line it over the text. Do some more stripes. Just want her to pop out in the background a bit more. I'm sort of going over the stripes, but I'm sort of not. Sort of going over the stripes of the words, but I'm not being too particular. Sometimes I'm quite particular. Actually, I don't mind that now. It's nice to have lines going vertically and horizontally on your page, so I think that's done. Let's recap what we did. We've done this one. We've done that one. Quite like that one. Don't have as much pen work on that one, but sometimes it's okay not to do as much pen work. I love this one. That one's really cool. Love that one too. I love this. And this one. This one's a bit busy, but you sort of... You're sticking down and doing things in a hurry, so you're sort of not looking for perfection. Some I like, some I don't. I'm not wanting to like or have a perfect piece at the end. I really like this one. I think because it's more contrasty, this one's a lot of the same colours, maybe. And this doesn't stand out as much as this. Really like this one. Again, I think it's the contrast. I like things that have a high contrast. This one's really cool as well. And even though this one doesn't have a lot of contrast, I still like it because she stands out a lot more. Thank you very much for sticking around. If you're still around here, one more session of this to go, and then I promise I'll get back into some other type of art journaling videos and things. I just, well, been busy lately. It's busy time of the year. Our show season has kicked off. We've got another show in a couple of days from filming this, and then... Yes, it's busy. And we had quite a few trips to Melbourne for medical appointments and things. And, oh, it's just, life's just nuts lately. Wouldn't have it any other way, but it'd be nice to have a little bit more me time. But me time means less money. Maybe work time's good. Thank you very much for watching, and welcome to all our new subscribers. Leave me a comment, like and subscribe, and do all that fun stuff on YouTube. It helps my channel get shared. Determined to get over 1,000 subbies this year. It's been hovering about 950. Keeps going up and down, but we will get there eventually. Bye for now.